Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. All right, another prophecy watch. All right, and as you can see, I have on the screen a video uploaded by the brother Arya Chayal Ba. That's the name of the page. Subscribe, constantly get updated, edified. The title of the video: Trump just signed an executive order for digital payments methods only. You should know what's next. All right, so let's play this and ultimately get a few scriptures, and hopefully you brothers and sisters be edified as we are, at the end of Esau's world. The prophecies are becoming more and more clear. You should clearly see, all right, who is speaking the truth. As the scriptures say, as these, things start to happen on the earth, persecution comes, then shall you know who was my chosen. Because somebody's telling the truth and somebody's lying. And there's only one truth. All right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemi Ashah, there's only one truth. Okay?
I have an executive order for your attention relating actually to government payments. Historically, checks issued by the Treasury are, I believe, 14 times more likely to become the subject of fraud than electronic transfer payments.
So when you look at what Doge has been doing, looking into, the Department of Government Efficiency, pretty much what they've been doing is looking into all of what the left was doing with, payouts to various different countries for some very atrocious, projects. There was a lot of money, being trafficked. There was a lot of money going to people, for some very nefarious purposes. And what Doge did was pretty much bring it to the light, which we know the left and the right work together. So all of these atrocities that went on with the left, right, sending money to certain countries, forming coups, forming rebellions, okay, doing transgender study on animals. It was just atrocious. It was madness. And the reasoning behind now we need to switch to digital payments, all right, to a blockchain and all of these various different things as you listen, is so that we can have more transparency with where our money is going and who's getting what, so that we can crack down on fraud. Again, this is another form of peace and safety through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. These devils on the left-hand side have created all of the problems necessary to justify bringing in this digital system, allowing AI to govern, track, trace, and eventually this is going to come to the people, okay? But again, they did a good job of the left making a big mess. Again, we always show you, and let's get here in the book of Habakkuk 2:2. It says, "And Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry." All right. And when you read the vision that Habakkuk received, all right, it speaks to everything that's happening now. The very brutal colonization this devil did. Okay, this wicked system taking root by deceit, treachery, wickedness, lies, all right, idol worship, and all of that. Then he receives a vision of the destruction of that very kingdom that he had a vision of, which is America, Babylon the Great, and these devils ruling. Now, when you read Revelation, the 13th chapter, one of the aspects of Babylon the Great, which is the final beast, the last leg of the Roman Empire, the Western Roman Empire was revived at the Renaissance, but it has been ultimately rebirthed in stages through the Spanish, the French, the British, of course Germany was up in there, and then you have America, all right? The 13 colonies became the 50 United States. So as you read here in Revelation, the 13th chapter, all right, it says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Now, Daniel, the 7th chapter, gives you the understanding that of the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire, it will be revived. Okay, it's called another little horn. Well, here in the book of Revelation 13, that little horn, which the end would come through that little horn, is expounded upon. And as you can see here, I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, meaning into rulership. This is America. And he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So the two horns like a lamb is the left-right paradigm. You see what I'm saying? And pretty much one does something and the other brings the solution. They act as if they're against each other, but the majority of the policies are bipartisan, meaning they're agreed upon. Both parties agree upon them. You see? But they put this facade out there for the people to believe that they're really against one another, when ultimately the people are all being led into the very same system. Again, as we say, it's an eagle with two wings, and they may look different, right? But guess what? You're headed to the same direction. You're flying to the same destination, man. And that's the charagma. So he had two horns like a lamb. So again, if you've been looking at news and prophecy, all right, on my page, and brothers, we've been showing you that when Elon came in with Doge, pretty much what they found out was that there was all kind of fraud going on, all type of payments going out, all type of wickedness being done with government money, with so-called what they call taxpayer dollars. So now, all right, you've heard the cry of Musk saying we need blockchain. And now, as you can see here, an executive order has now been passed for digital payment methods only, meaning the only way you can send money is via blockchain. So it has to be tracked. This way we can cut down on fraud. This way we can cut down on, nefarious activity. Okay? Just listen again. So just giving you the background, and there's various videos going into what the left was doing. But again, they're all working together. Again, as soon as Joe Biden got out of office, all of a sudden he can walk, talk, straight. He became a 33rd degree Mason out of nowhere. Like, what was that all about? And then he joined an acting firm, showing you that they're all actors, man. You see?
I have an executive order for your attention relating actually to government payments. Historically, checks issued by the Treasury are, I believe, 14 times more likely to become the subject of fraud than electronic transfer payments. This is an executive order that's going to push the Treasury Department to modernize its payment system to ensure that where possible they're using electronic methods of payment as opposed to paper checks in order to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, which is obviously an endeavor that we've been pursuing in numerous aspects of government under your leadership.
See, ensure that fraud, again, the digital system will present, all right, to the people an aspect of peace and safety. How much more when your accounts start getting hacked, all right, which that's happening on a large scale. Your phones get hacked. Okay, they're gonna say we need a more secure system. Phones are, the dude, if you looked at the video that I did yesterday, all right, listen to this guy. Hold up, let's go back to it. Let's see if I can find it. I did it yesterday. Boom. Let's listen to this guy here.
That makes.
And we'll go back to that, but I want to listen to this guy and what he's saying of why this chip is important. This microchip.
Why not? So, to be honest, this was more of a progression. You don't live a pretty normal, vanilla life and then just wake up one morning and say, wow, today's the day I'm going to start shoving microchips in my arms.
Yeah.
So, for me, it was more of a progression. I started with tattoos, got into standard body modifications, piercings.
Standard
augmentation.
I've got a tattoo. Does that mean I'm going to get chipped up?
Well, that depends. If you're fortunate enough to get it, you never know.
Oh my! What can you run us through your setup? Is that the right? What
What are the specs?
Yeah. What implants do you
I'm
have?
one of the few people that actually comes with my own hardware list. So this would actually be the largest one.
Oh.
Is that looks like a Jats cracker? Is that right?
Chaz, what is it?
This is an NFC and RFID implant, so this allows me to actually interface to the same technologies on your cell phones that you use to tap to pay with. I can also use it to get into physical restrictions like your badging system in this beautiful building. I could skim one of your cards, write it down to one of my implants, and just walk up and open the door.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
So he's telling you how unstable the current system is, how easy it is for him to hack. Okay, and look at these demons. Wow.
But when you say that, right, so if you skim the card, then how are you entering that
Well, I need an
information?
additional tool, but most of the time I can
Okay,
get away with
all right.
just...
When you say additional tool, you mean a computer?
No, most of the
No?
time I mean my cell phone.
Oh.
I can actually program these on the fly.
Really?
Sorry, so what you're saying is you can walk into a secure building, like say this one, and just find your way in
Yep.
with your cell phone and your
I
fancy
wouldn't bring the cell phone with me.
You just do that just by
I would skim the card, like hypothetically, you have amazing staff here that are
Lovely
just
people.
lovely people, but I've watched them sit there and badge in. If I was able to skim one of those cards, I would leave this building, write it down to one of the implants, leave all of my cell phones, all my electronics outside, and I would basically walk into your building.
Okay.
If I was caught, the fact that these are inside my body actually gives me protection under medical privacy laws to the point where the authorities can't even ask me about them.
Oh, we need to change those laws. Okay, but hang on.
Hear that? See?
Okay, right. All right, okay. I get this. I get you saying you're using it for good.
Yes, sir.
What I don't get is why any human should be allowed to have that capability.
Well, the ability for self-experimentation, it goes all the way back to Isaac Newton. So a lot of the greatest medical benefits that we've actually have in the modern age were originally started by people experimenting on themselves.
All right, and you could keep watching it, but again, he showed you how easy it is for him. So overall, they're gonna need, as it says here. Let's get that. All right, in the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and 3, it says, "For when they shall say peace and safety," okay, I start at 2. "For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord cometh as a thief in the night. When they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." So this is an aspect of peace and safety when you deal with a charagma and this digital system and everything that they're bringing. Okay, so going back here.
I have an executive order for your attention relating actually to government payments. Historically, checks issued by the Treasury are, I believe, 14 times more likely to become the subject of fraud than electronic transfer payments. This is an executive order that's going to push the Treasury Department to modernize its payment system to ensure that where possible they're using electronic methods of payment as opposed to paper checks in order to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, which is obviously an endeavor that we've been pursuing in numerous aspects of government under your leadership.
It's basically modernization of equipment and methods, and it's something that really I think he's going to be a great Secretary of the Treasury wanted, Scott, and so we're doing this, and we have other modernization programs going on. We could let somebody else, whoever's next, whoever that may be, do it, but it's something that should have been done 25, 30 years ago.
And as it says in the book of Isaiah, the 19th chapter, in the 4th verse, I read it in the NLT, it says, "I will hand Egypt over to a hard, cruel master. A fierce king will rule them, says the Lord, all right, of heaven's army." See that? And we believe that this is that cruel Lord, all right, which we know he's backed and he's doing the bidding of the elite, but him along with Elon Musk, all right, are bringing the very system that John the Revelator saw, okay? Now let's go here to my man Nations Conspire.
This is the Nations Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. Every single executive order that Donald Trump is putting out there is tying in to the globalist plans. And nobody out there...
See that? He came under the guise of making America great again, which is a nationalist ideology. MAGA, which is an enchantment when you look it up. Now, you see all of the moves he's making, all right, or leaning towards the globalist agenda, all right, that, again, remember the right-wingers were against this type of stuff. But now that Trump's doing it, they're making excuses for it, but a lot of them are like, wait a minute. See? So things are getting ready to get, hey, this year is very interesting. Call Haloya Hawaba Shimi Awashai, man.
Just paying attention, because in between every executive order, like this one about modernizing payments to and from America's bank account, which is all about going cashless, in between every one of those orders, Trump makes sure to fit in an executive order about common sense. Like in between some of these executive orders about how we're going to go cashless or how we're going to bring in AI governance and give $500 billion to Oracle and these other companies like NVIDIA so they can build out the World Economic Forum's AI governance. They talk about, hey, here's an executive order that men are men and women are women. We only have two genders. And everybody just applauds. And then when they tell you that we're going to modernize payments and stuff, they just fall asleep because they're going, I don't care about that. Tell me more about common sense. Tell me that men can play...
There you go. The left made a mess that the right is supposedly fixing, and why they're reversing some of the absolute satanic, demonic policies that were brought about by the Biden-Harris administration. They're also bringing in the MOTB system, signing it into legislation.
Men's sports and women can play women's sports, right? Meanwhile, Donald Trump has ordered the end of U.S. government checks in digital disbursements overhaul. That's right. Trump's ordering the federal government towards electronic payments only. He is ending checks, which is another way of saying ending cash and forcing you into electronic payments. And this is all about artificial intelligence governance. Right in front of our faces, they are telling us that, this is a dated system, right? Years ago, that we said that Trump was going to get rid of checks, which really means cash in a sense, right? Because now, instead of getting a check for the government, everything's got to be done electronically. They'll make a few exceptions, they claim. But of course, we know, just like they're supposed to make religious exemptions, they refuse those things. And they'll refuse this. They'll force people into this if they want any type of payment from the government. That means Social Security, disability, anything along those lines, right? And while that's happening, keep an eye on Doge, because Doge wants more online identity verification. And Elon Musk and Doge have been involved in discussions about a digital ID and access to government.
This guy is definitely watching us. I'll just say that. Hey, but it's good. The information's coming out. He just needs to stop trying to break the scriptures down. But as you can see here, he went to the Chat GPT. Elon Musk and his company Doge has been involved in discussions about digital identity and access to government data. Okay, and just like he watches us, we use him. See, because you can do nothing against the truth before the truth. Everything happening and anything that anyone brings out to shed light on things, it works in our favor. Okay? Digital ID registry. Musk has been involved in building a digital ID registry, according to a post on X. See that? The White House and the Congress have considered creating a limited digital ID platform for public benefit programs, but it's going to go further and further and further, man. And to get on IG, to get on YouTube, to get on, it's all going to be tied to your whole ID. No online autonomy is ultimately they want to do away with people, all right, them not knowing who people are. They want everything to be out in the open. So your job will have access to what you post on the internet, and they can make a decision of whether you're worthy of having that job based on your social credit score. This is what's coming. Okay? They're getting ready to come down with draconian measures, man. Okay? Just watch.
Data. Musk has been involved in building a digital ID registry, according to a post on X. The White House and Congress have considered creating a limited digital ID platform for public benefit programs. And this is all about cashless society, digital ID, control grid. At the same time of all this stuff, Trump's exciting all the people that they made temporarily rich with their crypto scam by backing crypto banks and stablecoin And really, this is a war on the dollar, even though they won't tell you yet that it's a war on the dollar. And it's heading towards a cashless society. Donald Trump is bringing in every single New World Order initiative right in front of everybody. And I said, this is why people need to pay attention to how they're wording things and how they're deliberately manipulating things by telling you that they're going to do this, but not making a big deal about it. Then making a big deal about how there's two genders. And that's the national news story, not about how all these payments are now going to go digitally, right? Here's Donald Trump signing that executive order, saying this should have been done a long time ago.
Next, sir, we have an executive order for your attention relating actually to government payments. Historically,
we already seen that, so let's move along.
Right? Because, of course, everything they're doing is in the name of, well, our tax money's being burnt, right? They're telling us that they're lighting our tax money on fire, which everybody out there should know anyway that that's what they're doing, but they're not really doing what they're saying with our tax money. They've actually used it for lots of different things, lots of different laundering things and lots of things under our feet. These underground cities that they've built that most people don't know exist because they're too busy looking over at Jeff's Island thinking that everything that's happening with children is happening over there, but it's actually happening underneath our feet. So people out there think that this is just us catching up with the times. All these MAGA people don't realize that the technology is what's going to enslave us. AI governance is the plan of the globalists, United Nations, World Economic Forum. And if you just even type this stuff in, just a basic Google search or basic whatever search you do, accelerating digital transformation for long-term growth, the digital economy, digital transformation, optimizing digital transformation. That's what the World Economic Forum is all about. Benefits of a cashless society. All these videos, identity in a digital world, shaping the future of a digital economy, new platform for the digital economy, digital advantage, right? It's amazing how people avoid these topics. And they just focus in on things like, oh, they're talking about us eating bugs. They're talking about this or that. Because, of course, the alt-right media likes to pull these basic concepts like, hey, the government's going to make you eat bugs. Hey, the government is telling you that there's 72 genders, right? And they get all irate about that. And they don't pay attention to exactly what this system is. This is a new infrastructure system. Trump's bringing it in. So let's take a look at the wording of this, because it's important. Modernizing payments to and from America's bank accounts. Section 1 purpose. The continued use of paper-based payments by the federal government, including checks and money orders, flowing into and out of the United States General Fund, which might be thought of as America's bank account, imposes unnecessary costs, delays, and risks of fraud, lost payments, theft, and inefficiencies. Okay, those are some of the things they're doing to convince people that this is a good thing. The government's wasting your money. All right, well, let's stop them from wasting our money, right? Oh, fraud, right? Something they always like to slap on everything. Oh, right, fraud. Could be fraud going on. They could be sending, this is something they've been working in the last couple of months, right? With the Social Security fraud, about people are getting Social Security payments who've been dead for 200 years, right? Trump said it at his State of the Union address. There's working people up here. This is PSYOP 101 stuff. Mail theft complaints, it says, have increased substantially since the pandemic. Historically, Department of the Treasury checks are 16 times more likely to be reported lost or stolen, returned undeliverable, or altered than an electronic funds transfer. Maintaining the physical infrastructure and specialized technology for digitizing paper records cost the American taxpayer over $657 million in 2024 alone. Now, you can look at that and you can say, well, how did it cost the taxpayer $657 million? So people are getting free money? Your tax money is going to, those are things that they say so that you say, do this, do it.
That's it. Point blank period. Again, what did we just say? What did we just read? I mean, this is prophecy, man. Revelation 13:11. I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And again, the people, all right, are being duped into crying and believing that their form of salvation is necessary. Because remember, this word horns, kyros, when you go into the Greek, means a savior. Okay? Kyros. Okay? A mighty and valiant helper, the author of deliverance. So this digital hub is going to be viewed as deliverance, salvation, as a form of, and things are going to get worse. Okay? Listen to a little bit more. All right? And I didn't want to go too long on this one, but it's happening, man.
Make it electronic. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the freeloaders. I'm sick of these people not being held accountable, right? Meanwhile, they're doing exactly what they all want done. Having a digital grid. This thing is going to be AI governance, everything controlled digitally. Your movements, your money, your purchases, freezing bank accounts. They all have full control over all of it. You might not see it today because you say, well, that'll never happen, right? But once they have this in place, you'll start to see them trying to pull and take more and more and more control. Because all they need to do is get it in place, and then they can do whatever they want. And there can't be any pushback once it's in place. So this order promotes operational efficiency by mandating the transition to electronic payments for all federal disbursements and receipts by digitizing payments to the extent permissible under applicable law, but not for avoidance of doubt to establish a central bank digital currency. So why do you think they put that in there? In case anybody was reading that getting suspicious. Trump wants to make sure, hey, this isn't about a central bank digital currency, right? But you put this in place, and then say in 4 years, they lift this thing about third terms, and Trump runs against Obama, and Obama's back in power, or somebody that you don't trust is in power. Wouldn't you start worrying about a central bank digital currency? And then you say, well, I don't want that. And you say, well, wait a minute, but they have this in place now. Everything's done digitally, right? So it's in place. You put in whoever you want in power. They suddenly tell you that they're not for the people. They want a digital currency, and then you're stuck with a digital currency, right? But I love how they put that right in there. But not for avoidance of doubt to establish a central bank digital currency. It's coming, folks. Then it says, it goes on to say, phase out, in section 3, phase out of paper check disbursements and receipts. Effective September 30th, 2025, and to the extent permitted by law, the Secretary of the Treasury shall cease issuing paper checks for all federal disbursements, inclusive of intra-governmental payments, benefits payments, vendor payments, and tax refunds, except as specified in section 4 of this order. All executive departments and agencies shall comply with this directive by transitioning to EFT methods, including direct deposit, prepaid card accounts, and other digital payment options, and take all steps necessary to enroll recipients in EFT payments, except as specified in section 4 of this order. As soon as practicable and to the extent permitted by law, all payments made to the federal government shall be processed electronically, right? So think about that. I talked about this recently with filing things in via the mail, right? If you do file your taxes or pay your taxes, I recommend you do it via mail. Because when people continue to do stuff via mail, it forces their hand. It makes them say, well, we can't force people in electronically because, 60%.
All right, and you could keep listening. Pretty much, at the end of the day, let's get this. Now, this is speaking of Antiochus Epiphanes. All right, but we know that which is then is now. This is Daniel 8:25, and Antiochus Epiphanes was of the Greek Empire. Okay, you can read about what he did in the book of Maccabees. You can go into secular history as well. Okay, Daniel 8:25, and through his policy, he also shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and shall magnify himself in his mind, his heart, his mind, and by peace shall destroy many. See that? So through his policy, he's causing his craft to prosper. And this word craft, see that? Which again, this is not talking about America, but we know that which is then is now. And when you look at this beast system, it does have remnants of Greek culture as well. Okay? Craft, marama, treachery and deceit, guile, subtlety. So it's very, very tricky. He's very, like he put that wording about, a central bank digital currency because he knows that's one of the talking point of so-called conspiracy theories. So through his policies, he's causing his craft to prosper in his hand, and shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many, and he shall stand up against the prince of princes, and he shall be broken without hand. You're going to lose. You see? And the end goal, we know, pursuant to the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter, is for them to set up a system where he's going to cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive that charagma in their right hand or in their forehands, that no man might buy or sell save he that had the charagma, the mark, which the mark is a physical thing. Okay? When we go into this word mark, it speaks to their plan. Okay? Charagma or charagma. Okay? A stamp stamped upon the forehead or the right hand as a badge of the followers of the anti-Messiah. And in ancient times, all right, they did brands, they did tattoos as you pledging allegiance to the ruler or as God, or bowing to their gods. Now it's this system has been upgraded to digital. No longer do they have to brand the slave. Okay? They can now digitally, all right, surveil you from under the skin. Okay? Track you from under the skin. Now you are their possession. Okay? This makes they have a patent on you, a mark branded upon horses. We know why horses and cattle are branded, for identification purposes, to show who owns it. a thing carved, a sculpture, graven work, an adulterous image. So this is a physical thing. Okay, the charagma is an idol. You see that? And ultimately, they're using all kind of craft to bring about this madness, man.
Percent of the population is sending it in through the mail, right? So they've methods, including by providing access through the Department of Treasury centralized payment systems, direct deposits, debt, and credit card payments, digital wallets, and real-time payment systems, and other modern electronic payment options. Goes on to say in Section 4, exceptions and accommodations for the phase-out of paper check disbursements and receipts. The Secretary of the Treasury shall review and, as appropriate, revise procedures for granting limited exceptions where electronic payment and collection methods are not
And this is just in the government, so just wait till they come down on the people. Okay? Because when you everywhere you look, there's some type of fraud, or people's lives being messed up, by people being able to go online anonymously and not really identify themselves and steal money out of accounts. So the answer is this AI system, man. Okay, it's going to be the answer to everything. Okay. And as you can see on the biometric update, okay, everything is going digital, man. All right. Okay, digital IDs. Everywhere you look, this is where they're going, man. So I just wanted to bring that out. Hopefully I'll edify it on to the next. Shalom.